G'day, my name's Matt Cherry. After a recent trip to a BlazeAid camp in central New South Wales, I was asked plenty of questions about fencing, so I thought I'd put together just a short video explaining a few tips. So as a BlazeAid volunteer, you'll be working with the farmer and they will be giving you some instructions on how they would like their fencing done. But this is a few ideas on how we plan and build a fence here on our farm. So obviously in the planning process, there's a few things we need to know, and that is one, obviously the distance. So if we use this as an example, this 100 metres here. We want to determine the type of fence, and then we'll go through the process of building it. So for example, a 100 metre fence, the materials we're going to need, depending on the type, we're going to need strainers and stays at either end. We'll have steel posts laid out at measured distances. The general rule is 3 to 4 metres. We will then have different types of wire. So here we build a 3-barred and then a 3-plane wire fence. A lot of different farmers that have sheep will have ring lock or netting or something there as well. There could also be electric fences involved. So just for this example, if this was our farm, we'd have a steel strainer and a steel stay. We would have a post every 4 metres, so that would mean we would need 24 posts. We would have 3 barbed wires on the top, so that means we need 300 metres of barb, and obviously ties then to tie that to the post. And then the equivalent distance in plain wire for the bottom. So the process that I would sort of look at with this is I would look at stock pressure. If this is the inside of the fence, we would have the wires to the inside. If you're building a netting fence, you would have, if that's your steel post, you obviously got your wires run here, but you would tie your netting onto the back of the post there. So that would determine which way you face your post when you're building this fence here. So just a few other things to consider. If you're building across the slope of a hill, you might want to put the back of the post facing down just for extra strength. If you're working through sort of undulating type country, it's always good to put a post on a point before it drops off, and then one again in the lowest point, and potentially peg that one down. So you get a nice flow with the lay of the land, and by pegging a post down, you'll stop the fence lifting. There's plenty of ways in which you can build the fence, but the way we do it is we like to have our strainers and stays in first. We will then measure and lay out our steel posts. We will run our cider wire, which we generally use the top barb, strain it to give you a straight line. We then stand up our steel posts and either tap them in or drive them in position, and then we will finish running the rest of the wires, tying the barbs off as we go. We also like to just tap the line at the end, just get a nice even flow with the lay of the land, and it just gives it a neater job. So this knot we use to tie off at the strainer post. So you wrap your wire around the post and get enough of a tail to then do the knot. It's as simple as bending it around and back through this piece here against the post. Pull it in tight, grab your tail over, under. So we've gone over the original wire, underneath, over, under. So over, under is a good way to remember it. You can then twist by hand or use your tools to make it easier. And it's just a matter of 3 to 4 twists. Job's done. So there's another knot that we use to join 2 pieces of wire together called the figure 8. So if you can imagine, you have one piece of wire and you make this loop with the tail across the top. You then feed the second piece of wire through that loop, create another loop, this loop goes underneath, on top, underneath, this tail's this way, that tail's that way, and as you strain your wire, it'll look like that. So another thing to remember, I'm quite particular in how I like the fence to look. So these tails I would trim. Nice and short and even so it's neat, and the same on the post. So it looks like that. So just a quick demonstration of straining a wire. So you can see I've got the strainers hooked up here. Once you get the correct tension, it's then a matter of measuring and tying off. Measure the distance to create a loop. We've created this loop here, just twisted it back around the wire 3 or 4 times. We then join the two pieces together simply like this, twisting this the same, releasing the strainers, and we're left with a simple knot. So just a quick summary, this is tying off at the strainer. We've gone around, up through here, over the top, 3 or 4 twists. So we've got the figure 8 knot, where we use just joining 2 pieces of wire. You can see each loop goes through, this one's over, this loop is under, tails are opposite. And this is the knot that we used with our strainers to join the 2 pieces of wire. Just simple two loops through each other with 3 twists on either side. So building a fence may seem like a big task, but with a bit of practice following the same procedures, it does become quite basic. But always begin with planning and understanding what type of fence, how much materials you're going to need, and then it comes down to the different knots and getting the posts in. One big thing is with fencing is safety. Wearing the proper PPE, gloves and glasses and earplugs and things like that if you're using drivers, but also watch out for your mate along the fence line. And well done volunteering for BlazeAid. It's a great organisation and they do a fantastic job to help farmers.